Recently in class, we began working with nonlinear functions, specifically parabolas and hyperbolas. The equation on the left is a parabola function. The equation on the right is for a hyperbola. Note that in both equations there are the letters a, h, and k. What do those mean? The purpose of this video is to find out. Hopefully, you'll also notice some similarities between what a, h, and k do between parabolas and hyperbolas. In order to see the difference, we're going to do it using GeoGebra. First, let me talk about sliders. We're going to use sliders to understand this. But before we do, let me just go back to using sliders to manipulate an equation that you are all quite familiar with. Down here in the input bar, we're going to write y equals m times x plus b. And you notice that on the left, there's a corresponding equation with the line that appears on the right. Watch what happens when I slide the slider called m back and forth. When I slide this back and forth. So you probably figured out by now that m represents a slope and b represents the y-intercept. Alright, enough of that. Let's apply this to something new. So now with a new GeoGebra window, I'm going to create three sliders. One that represents A, one that represents H, and one for K. And I like to change the increments a little bit. For simplicity's sake, I'll make the increment for H and K 1. And then in the input bar, I'm going to type in my equation. GeoGebra won't like it if I type in y equals for this. So instead I'll type in f of x. In this case it means essentially the same thing. To do the second power, I hit Shift 6 and then the number 2. Click on the Move button and move the sliders around. What happens? How does the look and the location of the parabola change? Also observe how this equation changes as the parabola changes. Make sure you record any observations in this document here. Include a sketch of one of the parabolas. Alright, now I'm going to delete this equation. I can actually use the same sliders because note in our equation we have the same letters, A, H, and K. On to the hyperbola. Again, just move them around. Note how specific coordinates change. And record all of your observations on this document. It might be helpful to include some of these vocabulary words. In fact, make sure you include all of the words in bold. You might want to mention the other concepts as well. Good luck.